Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Another day fighting the physics Borg. Anyway, debate physics also. Anyway, so I have been making these live videos, so I figure we'll just go over a few of those because they are in a different tab and you do have to actually kind of look for them. Or you might not notice if you don't subscribe and all that kind of crap. So just thought it was worth a mention. So we pick up somewhere around this one. Yeah, I don't know. They're in the wrong order, actually. The first one I made is here. So it's obviously from the image two slit stuff. Now I didn't title that one, so I probably should go back and do that, actually. But anyway. And then I did this Parth guy. They use the word diffraction. And so I've sort of tried to point that one out, that there's no, Professor Lewin actually gets this one right. I mean, he's wrong. It's all wrong. Okay, it's just once in a while they point out how the other religion is flawed in its logic, and then they commit the same logical errors. But, that there's any kind of, for photons, that there's any distinction between diffraction and interference, that the principle is exactly the same. Anytime you're creating this pattern, you're creating it for the same reason. Now, he would blame Huygens and all that kind of nonsense, wavelets and, superluminal communication and all that kind of nonsense that goes with it. So it's, but I mean, yes, there's no diffraction that causes the single slit and then interference that causes the double slit, or some sort of difference in the source of the pattern. It's the same mechanism, and all you have in the single slit is the two source experiment, and in the double slit you have the four surfaces experiment, and that's the only difference between them. And you just can't get the believers to respond to those kind of simple arguments. They just pretend they don't exist as arguments. Alright, so this one was relativity and light. Let's see. Motion, time, and space. So, don't know exactly what that one is, but it probably has something to do with this idea that, there are tests, and, you can think through things like light clocks, but you can also think through things like absolute energy in the universe. And the fact that there is a difference between, 10 pounds moving 5 miles an hour and 5 pounds moving 5 miles an hour. And that when those two things hit, there's a different amount of energy. So it matters who's moving. If you have two trains passing each other, and one has 6 cars and one only has 3 cars, the fact is, if they hit each other, you could tell who was really moving relative to the tracks, because the fact is, one of the trains has if one of them is actually doing the moving, it has a lot more energy, and it will affect the outcome in that dramatic, more energy way. Alright. So all this crap about relativity and it being uninspectable is sort of just crap, because they always limit the experiment to some circumstance where you can't, orient yourself to any other circumstance, anything outside the train, or anything that requires information between the two trains, like holding something that weighs half as much as what the other guy is holding, and see if the two things bang into each other, with just measure that reaction. So the light clock is the other giveaway one, just in the sense that Einstein didn't declare light an absolute. It was sort of understood long before Einstein, and the fact is that yes, it only moves in one direction, and at the speed of light, and all the other forces are also singularly directed and move at that speed, and so they can be used as references, because they can only be in one orientation of the universe, moving in one orientation at a time. But anyway, Alright, so then the other one was this the high IQ guy. And, you know, just the fact that, yeah, not so smart, sorry. Yeah, you know, in terms of his understanding of reality, it's full of mush. For a smart guy, that shouldn't be possible. And then the Dr. Don Lincoln again, doing some more of his, you know, relativity mush and explaining how light clocks work with just silly descriptions, pointing out, you know, he makes a distinction between acceleration and velocity, and you can't understand what the distinction is, how one is relevant and one is irrelevant, because he basically will agree as long as you say something's relevant, I suppose. As long as you state that there is time dilation, he'll find a way to agree with you. And if you state that, no, it's just broken clocks, that's where he'll disagree. Maybe it's that simple. But it was just a bunch of crap in the terms of he's made statements that directly contradict other people's statements, and because they're on the same side, so to speak, he'll just pretend he didn't. Alright, then the Unsucker Sucks video, you know, just reacting to, you know, his videos are crap in the sense that he has some theory that the constants are somehow the threat to physics, and they're really not. You know, you can't really do business without them. So why worry about them? They're not. There's no big threat that we've misidentified constants. I mean, it's just so pointless. And then he's, you know, it's all just clickbait. Frankly, he just lives for it. Anyway, I mean, his newest book is just a pile of shit in terms of the references and the statements it's making are just not true. America did not break physics. You know, it didn't happen that way. Anyway, alright, so live junk, K versus MV and some gravity. I just don't remember exactly what initiated the conversation. And I don't know, you know, so, but, you know, it doesn't really matter. Just more of the same arguments that won't be countered by anything rational. Alright, so then I did some lever stuff and then started playing some of the Brian Greene on Einstein's relativity theory and space-time, and how, you know, the completely unevidenced theory, you know, that somehow space is something and time is nothing, some sort of illusion. You know. Anyway, so I did more of that, and then but I did touch on the Boehm alternative to the Copenhagen interpretation. That's how it should be presented, as the Boehm. They call it Boehm mechanics and different things, and they ought to just call it an interpretation, because it's not really mechanics, unless you want to call it Copenhagen mechanics. So, and it's on its face garbage in the sense that it doesn't predict any rational slit pattern. It's not. It doesn't do anything, you know, that it needs to do. It doesn't fit. Okay. It doesn't describe the reality. It doesn't predict correctly. So it should be out of the realm of reasonable for that alone. And then it's dependent on the same woo. You're just changing where you put the woo. So, you know, this whole idea, we'll stick a particle on top of all the wave crap, and therefore we've solved something. When, in a sense, the Copenhagen interpretation, which was just all the little wave crap, was already doing that. It was just assigning the location where you have a, you know, a de-entanglement, where something terminates more expediently than something else, or sooner, and therefore the thing lands there, some kind of crap like that. The probability crap. Anyway, so I think I did more of that. Yeah, so maybe this next video was the better one, when I added the other guy's name. Yeah, that was probably the better, but it's more complete in terms of arguing the words they use, the rhetoric. So the fact that local just means it's not a theory that contains ESP woo. Okay, so that's, I'd call that just being real, but whatever. And they use that word, realism. So all the vernacular, all the words are all broken and made a mess of by the Borg. And then they use hidden variable to describe something non-superluminal but still wooey. Okay, like I think, yeah, I think Feynman's randomness would fit into that category as hidden variable. I just, who knows? And what the real argument can be is you're just starting from a fake point. You have fake premises, wrong axioms. It's not MGH, it's MGT. I mean, you have broken foundations, and that's why your theories don't work. And you haven't proven the non-existence of your theory being broken, that there's an alternative that does work. You've just stated it. So that's all they do, is they somehow state that there's no possible alternative explanation, when of course there's no possible alternative explanation, and Bell didn't prove that there's no alternative explanation. All he proved is you need superluminal. That's all he did. You need some sort of ESP, because somehow the magic experiment is doing something. But again, it's only based on their wrong assumptions regarding the fact that the particle goes through both slits. So if you don't believe it goes through both slits, you don't have that problem. Not your obligation to accept superluminable communication and all that mush. And they said this was just a comment video where, I just made a few things clear about what experiments have been done, and results that reasons why you can doubt some people as being credible sources, because they do contrive experiments and essentially cheat them. Something as simple as a lever, and they have to cheat it somehow to make their argument. They have to take away the balance on the other side, they have to imbalance the lever, they have to break it in some way, and then say levers don't work. They don't conserve momentum. When, of course, they do, if you treat them right. If you cheat, then they don't. Not a big surprise. Alright, so that's it for the live videos. I don't know what I'll do with that feature in the future. The quality of the videos is pretty good, so again, I don't have that gripe anymore. So, but I don't know how regularly I will or will not choose to use that feature. And so we'll see how that goes. There's not enough audience to justify investment in it yet. Frankly, because it's, I can't pause, I can't do a lot of things that are useful, in terms of making a video. Like now, I can pause, and I will, and switch screens and all that. Alright, so I'm back. So the website, did do a few videos there, I suppose, that haven't been referenced in any of these YouTube videos. But unfortunately, it's so long ago I don't remember. So there was some commenter called the Merkerker or whatever, and he made whatever comments, and I disputed those comments by pointing out that there are all these, the fact is there's not, we don't have the experiments we should have. Regular physics hasn't bothered to show us that, you drop something from 4 times the height, it only weighs twice as much. 4 times the height, twice as much. So I drop it from this height, it weighs that much. I drop it 4 times higher, it only weighs twice as much. So another big win from my team, so to speak, in terms of demonstrating the conservation of momentum is real, and the fakery of 1/2 mv squared, the uselessness of it, the pointlessness of it, the redundancy. We already have a definition of energy, and it's called weight. Weight is, you don't weigh anything on the earth if the earth doesn't push you into the earth. Okay, that's the weight. The weight is how much are you getting pushed into the earth. And if you put a scale between you and the earth, you can see how much the gravity is pushing you, okay, and giving you your weight. You don't have any weight without the force pushing your mass. So it's really just momentum. So just sitting on Earth, you have momentum. And it's, a perfectly reasonable, logical thing to state, that you can feel it happening. You can feel the Earth pushing you back. It's just a fact. All right, anyway. So yeah, there's tons of arguments about all the little experiments that have been done, the Mythbusters experiments, the experiments I've done, the ones Brozo's done, and they do show a certain trend, okay, in terms of understanding that levers actually do work. They actually convert momentum from big V, little m to big M, little v. That you can actually do those kind of conversions, and it'll be just like a Newton's cradle. You can do them with 100% efficiency almost, and whatever, 95% efficiency, and yeah, it just, and there's reasons why it works, and the reasons are perfectly logical in terms of just following the energy. Alright, anyway, so charge and movement, I imagine it was a similar thing, but it's more about, I guess, the fact that there's two forces and blah, 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 blah. Alright, absolute can just look relative. And that's sort of another simple argument, is that, yes, everything has this relative motion, and anytime we change the motion between two things, the trick is that everything is not moving straight lines. Everything's, because you're being, you're turning one way, you're doing lots of complex motion, so in a sense, every little bit of you is very, very scattered. So in all that scatter of motion, you have to find a relative difference. And that's the tricky part. But again, as I pointed out, you can detect who actually has the motion, because if things don't weigh the same, they won't act the same. You break the Newton's cradle, and you can tell which side hit. Okay, I can have a 2 mass and a 1 mass in a Newton's cradle, and I can tell the difference between the 1 mass hitting the 2 mass and the 2 mass hitting the 1 mass. It is a different interaction. Alright, and then comments, and that was mostly to do with the 1/2 mv squared crap, and the fact that there's no reason to say in gravity, for example, that if you're accelerating in gravity or falling in gravity, there's no reason to say you're falling at a rate of 9.8 meters per second It's totally redundant, and they only do it so they have an excuse to square the seconds, to put seconds in the equation twice, and eventually multiply it times itself. And that's the origin of the bad math. Is just bad verbiage to start with, and bad logic. You don't say you're going 60 miles per hour, because it wouldn't make any sense, and if you wrote it in equations like that, it would make a mess. Okay. Light, matter, and motion. I think that was a pretty good video, actually, from my recollections. And it hits all the subjects, that it's the speed of force. The forces are just manifestations of the same momentum, little bits of momentum, and that's the force when it's free, and when it's not free, it's this material momentum. Mass is moving. So you can have the force moving, or you can have a mass moving, and the two things are equivalent, and that's exactly what Newton said, and there shouldn't really be any confusion about that. Alright, and then let's see, Newton's second law. Yeah, so that was more of the math crap. Alright, so that's enough of that. So, I'll pause and find something else to bring up. There was a video I saw that was pretty interesting, so I guess I'll go find that. Alright, this should be back. Yes, alright. So this is kind of a cheesy video. It's called Amazing Video, Man Lifts 20-Ton Block by Hand. But anyway, so it just talks about some of the mechanical mechanisms you can use, where you can just use gravity. So, you want to tilt a big giant rock, you just dig out a little bit, pile a bunch of little rocks on top of the big rock, and the big rock will tilt. So it's all of this just mass in motion kind of stuff, and you know, in this case it's just a pebble. So he puts a pebble, you know, he tilts the rock, puts a pebble underneath it, and with a pebble underneath it he can rotate it anywhere he wants to rotate it. If he puts two pebbles under it, then he can rotate it in an ellipse. Okay, you know, so it has all of this kind of interesting good physics in it. And it kind of shows things like, you know, the tinier the fulcrum, the smaller the amount of energy that you're going to lose to friction and all this kind of stuff. So it has lots of these subjects we've been talking about in these videos in there, but it is kind of a cheesy video. I don't know when it was made. It looks like the old kind of VHS tape kind of video, so it can't be just 6 years old. I mean, whenever he did this, had to be more than that, I guess. But he is demonstrating pretty much, you know, there's no mystery to Stonehenge, because frankly this one man could have built it. He's, you know, he's got this gigantic rock here, back here, where he's just tilting it back and forth, okay, piling mass on one end, you can see it in the image there, tilting it down, then he sticks a board under the other side, then he moves all the mass to the other end, tilts it the other way, and just slowly raises it up. So he's showing how it can be done. How do you lift these big giant rocks? Well, you lift them a little tiny bit at a time.
The weight of a minivan would be to place a stone underneath it, and once I balance on it, I can spin it. Of course, with that spin, you've seen I didn't go anywhere. But I got two handles on my lever, and I could place another stone on this side. Now, every time I spin a half rotation on each stone, I move the block horizontally, the distance between the stones.
See? You know, so it's all kind of interesting, good physics stuff. So it's good for that. It's bad that it's a TV show or something. So it's just kind of tacky. I don't know what this is.
Feet in the other direction onto another piece of property.
It can move.
So he moved a barn. I don't know, it had to be a barn with some kind of really stable floor and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's showing us. It's one guy here, and he's, you know, moving this
and while
thing
he's
around.
betting, it moves Stonehenge's 25-ton rocks. But
you know, so it's, you know, quite. Look, it's got a big giant stone, you know, and again he's just stacking wood under it. And so he moves a bunch of mass to one side, tilts the rock, levers it, creates an unbalanced lever, okay, then he can shove some more crap under this end, then he unbalances it in the opposite direction, shoves some crap in this side, and it works. Yeah,
by himself.
it works really well. You know, so it's like, you know, and he's just one guy trying. He's not the entire Egyptian civilization working on it, you know. So, I mean, if this was our life, if that's the world we lived in, where this stuff was important, moving shit around like that, I'm sure people get innovative and find even better ways to do it. But, you know, the fact is it works. I mean, better way might just be have people walk from one end of the stone to the other end of the stone. You know, just to make it easier than moving a bunch of other masses. But I'm just saying it's quite doable.
I've tried to do this without.
Okay, so he's doing it just as a one-man show. So imagine if it was a 10-man show. So you can see him tilting that. So that's kind of interesting. Let's play that whole bit.
Just try to use gravity, too, I believe is my favorite tool.
There you go, see?
The first goal is getting this block 3 feet off the ground.
So, you know, you could use wood, or you could use rocks, or you could use bricks. So lots of different alternatives to the way he's doing it. But the idea is pretty simple. Just move the weight from one side, move it to the other side, and just slowly but surely up it goes. See, the video cameras, you know, like a 1980s video
Just watch
camera.
Papa, he's going to do something wild.
They're here to watch Grandad lift a block the weight of 2 bulldozers.
It's ready.
Here's how it's supposed to work.
So this is the tilting one up and making an obelisk, or one of the pillars, like Stonehenge is on top of. The stones are on top of. So yeah, it's just showing how you can move the big rock into position. So this goes for like Easter Islands crap and all that too.
This end's going up.
He believes in his technique, but he's had some setbacks in the past.
One day I got thrown over top of a block, and a couple times I had the blocks roll off the top and almost land on my feet. One time I knocked myself out cold on the concrete.
No. Price you pay for, whatever. Good human theater. So anyway, so this is the sliding it into position, and then you just get rid of the sand that's, it's sliding on with water, and
Once the sand is washed from the pit, the block's own weight slowly stands it up.
Okay, finally, she's between the lines, guys. Look.
so that's something I wouldn't even have thought of, but yeah, it makes sense, right? Just put something inside that you can make dissolve, so it sits on top of it when it's dry, but if you dissolve it, it'll sink right through it. Turn it into quicksand. So turn a hard sand into a quicksand, and that'll save you a lot of work too. So lots of good stuff in there. And such.
It's good.
He did it.
Alright, anyway. So, just thought that was kind of curious and interesting. Doesn't have millions and millions of views. It does, oh, wait, 20 million. Okay, so yeah. It has been around for a while. But yeah, it really does put all that, oh, there's no way to explain. Oh, there's no way to explain. Yeah, there is a way. People just don't want to hear the ways. So, that'll be that. So, let's see what we'll finish up with. Yeah, I guess we do a little bit of this simulation thing, and then finishing up. It's almost ready for prime time, so getting very close. Got a couple of little things to fix, but you can see, if you just watch it a little while, they automatically turn into dipoles fairly quickly, and then the dipoles, turn into whatever, bigger clumps and blah blah blah. It clumps quite well. And with these very simple rules, and it basically starts to make what you would call nucleons or whatever, and then it'll just be a matter of finding the right balance between the masses, how quickly they move, and to start creating atoms. So it's well on its way anyway. But it won't matter, right? It won't matter that there's a perfectly sensible, simple explanation for why things do stuff, because you don't want to hear any of that. You want some wooey, silly, pseudo-religious, somehow humans are very, very important to the universe explanation. You don't want mechanical truth. You don't want to hear that you're a robot. You're just made out of this crap doing this simple shit. And it just happens, okay, that this simple shit can end up making more and more complex patterns when you give them billions of years to interact. But they're just patterns. Anyway, so I think that's enough of a video and such and so forth and whatnot. So there's 5 in here, so these two, they're pairing up, and then there's this odd one out, so he's got to stick somewhere, blah, 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 blah. But like I said, there's a couple little things missing, that's why it isn't staying stuck together. But it will. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, till the next time and such, so forth and whatnot. Oh wait, there's 6 of them in there. Oh, there was 5. Okay. Well, anyway, till the next time and such. Not quite fixed yet. Close. Very close. Alright, so call that a video, and be on my way. So, till the next time and such, this has been a DraftPhysics.com, DebatePhysics.com, FightTheBorg.com. I guess I should buy that domain name. Yeah, I don't think I will, though. Anyway, till the next time and such.